place to listen to us talk. All of our millions of viewers are listening to us talk back here.
Yeah, that Harbor Commission, man, it's really important stuff.
So like Walton and Johnson in the morning, millions of
Okay.
viewers, right?
We'll call the meeting to order. We'll certify a quorum with Tommy and Joe, myself.
I'll
We
make
got the minutes, if you want to take a look at the minutes from August 27. At the appropriate time, we'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
I have looked at them and we'll make a motion to accept minutes.
We'll get a second. All right, all in favor? Motion carries. We'll have the Harbor Master's report.
All right, gentlemen, we'll get started here in the normal order that we typically do, with the 450 report, the Harbor, the GNL. Everybody got that in front of them there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, much like last month, nothing is blaring, nothing terribly remarkable for this report at this point in the year, other than our revenue summary. We took in 138,772, which puts us at 95, almost 96% to our budget on the revenue line for this year, which is good. So obviously we're not through September, so September's number will be in there for the next meeting, which we should easily make our revenue numbers for this year. And then if you look down for our expenditure summary and the category of numbers underneath that, you'll see we are at 88.6% of that budget number, which is our expenditures, which is a good thing. We want to try to keep that total number less so we can continue to put funds in our account. All right, flipping over to charges for services, unless you guys have any questions about those particular lines.
I have a question.
Okay,
Surprise.
all right.
The $100,000 transfer for the current period,
Correct.
what is that for?
That's the debt service. So transferring, it's that number that gets transferred in and transferred out. So if you look down at the transfers and others category, you'll see that 125,000. That 100 is part of that 125, so it's a transfer in and a transfer out.
Okay, a transfer as in from city general funds?
It's either coming from city general fund, or it may be out of the capital and maintenance fund and into the harbor general fund, or the other way around. It might be out of the harbor general over into the capital and maintenance fund. But it's not defined on here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to, where's the sheet with our balances on it?
That's the last page of the packet, which I have a note to address that as well.
All right, well, I'll wait till you get there.
Well, I mean, we can discuss it now. We're talking numbers. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. So y'all have the harbor operational report, which is the Excel spreadsheet.
That harbor sales?
No.
October to September, Bay St. Louis Municipal Harbor,
It's the single page.
single page, this one right here.
No, one more. Keep going through. Looks like an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Oh, here it is, Harbor Operational Report?
That's correct.
Okay, it's this one.
Oh, I got it. It was in the bottom.
All right, so that's where your number for the Municipal Harbor Fund and the Municipal Harbor Capital and Maintenance Fund. So those balances are as of today. We've double checked those. So you notice the harbor fund is now at $575,000.
Now, where did all that money come from?
Well, we finally got quite a substantial amount to the tune of about $160,000 in reimbursements from our various grants, Tidelands, BIG, some other, miscellaneous grants. So we submit all of those for reimbursement. So the harbor spends the money. We're invoiced for the work that's done. We spend the money out of our general account, and then those are submitted to whatever grant applies to that expense. It takes a certain amount of time for those to make their way through their channels, whether it be DMR or the federal government, whatever agency is responsible for it. Then it comes back to us. Those checks are cashed. They're put into a specific fund, and then the city transfers the money over to the fund for the harbor where they apply to. So I discussed that today with Sissy, and we went down the list of this $160,000, and it is the total of, from our fuel dock improvement, going all the way back to our Pier 5 improvement and expansion. So all that money has come in, and it has now been transferred from the account holding it within the city over into the harbor fund.
Isn't there a report that shows these activities, like what's been spent, what's expected? Didn't we see that at one time, or there was talk about having such a report? So that you can look and see, okay, we spent 100 here, 100 there, 100 here. And here's where we anticipate getting 100, 150, and 50 to make up this balance, or whatever residual comes out of our capital account. Isn't there a report that shows that?
Yeah, what we did was we separated those expenditures out of the 450 report into a 451 and 452. So those are now being kept separate from this particular report.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that report be included with the Harbor Master's report of finances.
How hard is that to do?
You get a second?
Yeah, I'll second Chris's motion.
Thank you.
Chris?
Any questions? Tommy?
Tommy, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Favor.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay,
All right, I've made a note for that right here.
that takes care of me. Thank you. You guys will enjoy reading that. All right, thank you. Please continue.
I'll make sure to email one to you each
Yeah.
month,
Oh,
just for,
I would love to see it.
okay.
He's gonna be our recurring guest.
Yeah, all right.
All right, moving
But,
right along. Anyway,
so
it's
what I
very
did
good.
was
It's very
today,
good. Transfers in, transfers
Right.
out, aside. It's great. We're still making money.
well, what I did was today, because I noticed the last time that I had looked at the harbor fund number, it was still around that 370, which is kind of where it normally stays. So when Julie ran the numbers for me yesterday, I looked at it, I was thinking, this doesn't seem exact, what we normally have, and for it to increase that much in just a short period of time. So I went upstairs, I sat down with Sissy, we actually did go through all the numbers. I said, I want to make sure that this isn't a mistake. And that's exactly what she said was, the only thing I can think of is maybe something got transferred in that should not have gone into the harbor fund, and it should have gone somewhere else. So we went back, or she went back, through all of those in particular transfers from one to another, and was able to actually say, yes, no, that is legitimately harbor funds. So we should be in the clear there, I think.
I'm gonna make one more motion. With regards to debt service, that each month we get a report showing the balance due on the loan, as well as any payments made, and the amount and due date of the next payment.
Okay.
You get a second?
Second.
Any question? Motion carries. Yeah, we in motion. Okay, thank you.
All right. I've made a note on that as well.
Do we need to clarify that, Julie? You got it?
Report on debt service, balance due, due dates, and any approaching due dates.
An
Okay.
amount to be paid.
That correct, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay.
And y'all can amend it when you see the report if it's not clear. I'm just, reason behind it is, these things just drop out of the sky on us. I mean, the city knows what they're doing with it, but we don't quite
But we
see
don't,
it.
and
until
somebody asks us, we need to know.
You get the ricochet. So, thank you.
All right, any other questions on those?
I don't think I had anything.
All right, we'll move over to municipal harbor sales for the month of August. Second graph, to August 24, we got transients to the total of almost $1,800 there, $1,798. About on par for August. Diesel numbers, 21,308.65. Our gas, 62,089, for a total of those three coming to 83,476. And then a little over $1,100 in our ICE sales.
Do you see any, and looking at the Facebook exchanges, which if, I don't know if y'all are on the Facebook, but it might be good if you're not one of the few Facebooks I'm on.
I'm not on that one.
Okay, well, you might want to get on it. You'll, some of it's a waste of time, but there's some good information in there, questions anyway. So one of them was about how expensive our fuel was, versus past Christiane.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to one boat owner, and he said, as we were fueling up, he said, I forgot how many cents difference, but he says, by the time I take my time and run over there and run back, I'm burning enough fuel to offset the cost of my fuel. So,
Is that it?
he said, yeah. They have to let you in or whatever.
I think you dropped it down 50 cents a gallon, didn't you?
Yeah, we went down from 4 to 350, but that's because our purchase price
Yeah, it went down.
went down.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to, look, Facebook is what it is. There's a
No,
lot of,
I'm not, and
I know.
That just had me thinking, so I guess my question to you is our fuel price, like we're not losing fuel revenue? I mean, it looks like we have good numbers, we make money on our fuel every year, so there's a profit in there that's reasonable.
Sure.
So, and that's continued, it's not like you're losing customers or?
Well, we may be losing some, but, I always caution people, be careful where you purchase your fuel from. And I don't want to speak ill will of any other facility and what they're doing. Pass Christian Harbor's fuel is run by a private enterprise. I don't know where he purchases his fuel. I will tell you that I have seen visually myself evidence of some fuel in the area not being up to quality. And I've got a picture on my phone right now of fuel that came out of a brand new boat from another facility nearby that had significant amount of water in it. You know, so we purchase our fuel from a very reliable source, one that we've been buying fuel from since I think the harbor's inception. We've never had a problem with our fuel. We've never had any water in our fuel. You know, so we are a reliable source, and we take pride in that. We just passed all of our fuel inspections from the state, the MDEQ, with flying colors. We run a tight operation there when it comes to our fuel. So, you know, the old adage, sometimes you pay for what you get.
Well, my only point is, you know, there's a break-even point, so to speak.
Sure, yeah,
You know? So as long as you're not seeing, as long as we're staying competitive enough to maintain our growth, if you would, in fuel, then we're doing fine.
well, yeah, and
We
we're never going to price gouge, you know, on our fuel. There is a percentage of profit that I have to stay within the good graces of my boss, you know, that we target. And if our fuel price goes up by a certain percentage, well, our purchase price, then I go up by that same percentage or down by that same percentage.
Okay.
You know, yeah, you can get diesel a little cheaper in various places from here to over Biloxi. And when you're putting, you know, 500 gallons in your boat, and we might be 75 cents or in some cases maybe even $1 a gallon more, I get it. That's, you know, that's significant savings. That's $500, $600, $700, maybe $1,000, depending on what you know, how much you're putting in. But it's something that, yes, I keep my eye on it very closely. We were able to adjust it down 50 cents a gallon, and it looks like probably the next time we purchase fuel, we'll be able to come down even more. It looks like I'm going to be able to our regular gas price will be able to come down on that some. But also want everyone to understand, if anybody's listening, that, you know, a specific benefit to our slip holders, our lessees in the harbor, is that our fuel prices and where they are and the profit that we make on that also helps subsidize our slip fees. So, you know, we're not the most expensive harbor when it comes to per foot lease rates from from New Orleans all the way over to Florida. But the profit that we make on our fuel sales helps us being able to keep those per foot fees where they are.
And that's a good thing to bring up too.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and a lot of people they're not thinking, you know, that way. They see the price of our fuel is 50 cents more than maybe Pass Christian or Gulfport. But our slip fees are also less. Now, I know that doesn't apply to everyone who's purchasing fuel from us, but I would say a large majority of the diesel fuel we sell is either transient boaters or boats that lease space in our harbor. So we've been able to keep the transient rate and the slip fee where they are because we're profitable in other areas as well. But yeah, we watch it. We watch it closely. Any other questions on that? All right, we'll move over to our slip report. Happy to report that we're still at that above 90, 92, 93%, which after, I think we got an additional lease in today on a spot, probably one more tomorrow. It looks like, with that being said, all of our 35-foot slips will be leased. I only had 2 available as of this morning, and it looks like both of those will be gone. So we'll be at 100% on our 35-foot slips as well. But we're, you know, again, either 90 to 100% full on all of those. Obviously, we've got Cruising the Coast coming up in, what, week and a half, 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
I will say we've got approximately 25 boats that are on our reservation list for transient spots.
Good.
So, you know, we always get that little tick upwards in October for cruising the coast. So our transient number, our fuel, sales, ice, all that stuff, we'll get that last little hit before the fall season really kicks in. But we're doing well on our slip leases.
That fellow that leased that corner slip on Pier 1 with that big houseboat, I want to see him when he comes in and out of there. I mean,
You want to know who put that boat in there?
tell me more.
You're looking at him.
Come on. Well, you had a calm day, I hope.
That and hands.
Yeah, a lot of
Um,
hands. Did you watch that?
I didn't see it, but I think Lynn told me that. He says, man, they laid it against the walk, and then they shoved it in that way and they moved it over.
Yeah, I had to,
That makes sense.
and naturally, right when I was getting ready to move it, the wind kicked up a little bit, and it was a northeast wind. So that didn't help, but, yeah, we kind of had to, it was actually in slip 1, 2, and 3, or 1, 2, and 1, 3, the big open slip
Yeah.
right there. So we just kind of backed it out, and the wind kind of laid me over a little bit, but I wasn't able to get the tail end around to get the front around, so we had to kind of just ease up against and then kind of hands it off and then come straight into the slip that way. But we did a good job.
So that's a leased slip now?
No,
No?
that boat actually, its slip is out on 5, but we temporarily moved him up to an open slip up there because he had some elderly relatives that were coming in for the weekend, and it would just made sense for them to have easier access to the boat. So we've got him temporarily there right now. Don't know if it's going to be permanent spot or not, but you know, that slip's a little tricky.
Huh.
You can't hardly really get anything in there unless you've got 4 people on the boat with you while you're trying to do it. So that's why that slip has been kind of out there. We've been using it for a transient slip and various things, but yeah, the houseboat stays out on 5. We just haven't moved it back out there yet. Aging report, standard. You know, there's nothing on there that is of major concern at this point, and if there is, you know, like I always say each month, Julie's on it. She knows what she's doing with that thing, and I'm proud of where we are with our aging report. Obviously, we do make a little bit of extra revenue on the late fees that we apply, but nothing remarkable on that, other than, again, Julie is doing a good job with that.
So this guy called Pesca, that doesn't have a boat in the slip, am I reading that right, Julie? He's the one, no boat and slip, left message 9/5/24, email owes us $1,400 in round numbers.
What page are you on?
He's on the
Chris?
second
Page 3?
page.
I'm looking at page 3 of it, the same one.
Yeah, third page, yeah, thank you, Howard. Third page.
Page 3.
His name's underlined.
Balance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, balance is 1390.20.
Is he just he's a skip? I mean, not a skip, because you know where he is, but he just doesn't respond? What's our legal options? He's got a lease, so.
Well, our standard when that happens, and I don't know if we've sent him, Julie, have we sent him a certified letter yet? Okay. Yeah, that's our standard process is we'll send a certified letter, wait for that response. If we don't, then I get a little more forceful in the language with a follow-up or email or calls. We just try to make contact with them. And actually, Heather right now is doing a little bit of research into how to cut some of the fat off of the legal process. So it would be to place a lien on the vessel. And she's been in contact with a couple of the Gulfport city attorneys about how they do it over there. Now, the difference is they have 2 on-staff city attorneys, whereas Heather is obviously technically not a city employee,
Right.
and she has other responsibilities with other cities. So she was going to contact the city attorneys over in Gulfport and see how we can sort of cookie cutter their process. But that's the only available resources to us is the letters, and then we put a chain on the vessel.
Well, the vessel's gone.
Yeah, I mean, even if the boat's in the harbor, we put a chain on it. If it's not, then we close the account and
Give us
just
the money.
continue to
Yeah.
chase down the money.
Right, well, that's what I'm getting to, and I don't remember our lease, but does it say failure to pay, you're subject to 25% attorney fees or something? Do we have any of that?
Yeah, there's some things in the lease regarding that.
Yeah, 'cause you could, I mean, go to the courthouse, file a claim,
So,
go
so on-
to whatever, I mean,
Right.
yeah, so on here, would he be a vacancy or still showing up as lease? Cause I mean, I'd think you'd treat him as a vacancy and stick somebody in there if they're gonna pay.
Yeah, if the account has been closed, which I believe we did, didn't we? That one's been closed.
Okay.
Then
He owes us money, but we got a hole.
Correct.
Stick another boat.
correct. Correct.
If the boat's gone, there's not a lot more you can do.
Right.
Oh, I don't know what slip
Right.
it is. Do you know what slip it was?
I don't remember what slip that is.
I can understand that.
I don't.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right, well, that's all. What's that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
well, let's make a note on there to let you and I discuss that in more detail tomorrow. If he's a Diamond Head resident, then
well, yeah, I would, and again, I've been out of debt collecting business for a while, but Heather write him a demand letter.
yeah.
And if that doesn't get him up, then go to another level. But anyway.
All right, gentlemen, that's all the reporting I have for y'all. I know that you put a couple of things on the agenda, so I'll let y'all, we can move to that discussion if I need to be involved with it.
So I got harbor rules, and I think I got one page, or I got a couple pages of harbor rules and one page about liveaboard.
Okay. Page 4 is from the lease.
That's correct. That's the section of the lease that addresses liveaboards. I think you added what you wanted to discuss, something about
Well,
liveaboards.
there's all that conversation about the guy that wants to, that says it's, city charter says you can be in this and that. And, I mean, this seems to quell that, right?
It's pretty simple.
Okay.
I mean, Section 13 clearly states we don't allow liveaboards in the harbor.
All right, so do you, when those things pop up on Facebook?
Yeah.
Do you respond, not necessarily on Facebook, but to the individual and point out where the error of their ways, so to speak?
It depends on the individual. Some individuals you can't point out anything to.
Yeah, and I would avoid anything on
Well, no,
Facebook.
well, I'm
Um,
saying, no, I'm not saying, I'm saying get it off of Facebook and just say, hey, Mr. Jones.
Well, I will say this,
Just want to make you aware of, in your lease that you signed, section 13, it says this, and let it die.
right. Yeah, when those things need to be addressed, I promise you, sometimes I would like to address them more directly than what I normally do. But I see all of them. I am not directly on Facebook other than the access I have to the harbor Facebook page. I don't have a personal Facebook page that I follow all of these things. Now, my wife, on the other hand, does. So I see them all. She'll show them all to me. Some of them I respond to and I take more credence with than others. Some of them are talking heads that think they know everything about harbor operations and but yes, I do address them
Yeah,
as
well,
they.
I'm saying everything's been handled. It's just when I see something like this where somebody makes that kind of blatant comment more than one time,
Mhm.
you know, then I think while one wouldn't necessarily debate on Facebook, we could send an email out that says, you know, this question has been raised, and just for everybody's clarification, in your lease, just, you know, an email to everybody. In case you're wondering, the lease says this, and then you've handled it on the high road and not gotten into the Facebook
Correct.
melee.
Correct. No,
Anyway,
I don't ever.
for what that's worth.
I don't ever reply on Facebook to anything.
Good idea.
You know, again, the only Facebook page I have access to that I look at from time to time is the harbor Facebook page. But again, like I said, things are brought to my attention, whether it be other staff members who do have Facebook pages and they can see all of that, or my wife who does and she'll show me.
Sure.
I don't ever engage anyone via social media.
Yeah.
However,
No, I've never seen it.
when I do notice something of that nature, whether it be a criticism or an attaboy, you know, slap on the back, I try to acknowledge those and address those professionally in the best way that they need to be addressed.
Good.
We clearly do have a section in our lease regarding liveaboards, and we clearly do have our rules, policies, and regulation pages. And when you sign the lease agreement with us, there's a packet of information we get back, which is the actual signed lease agreement. And then there's a packet of information that goes to the boat owner, which includes our hurricane policy, evacuation policy, our rules and regulations, and other various information. So everybody has been given a copy of all of those things, but it still to this day amazes me the number of people that sign this and don't look at it. So yes, we do have to remind them at times.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I have no other
Was there
question.
anything in particular on the rules and regulations that's added to the?
No, that was just added to the package there.
Okay.
As far as I know, the part.
Because this is also addressed on number 11 on the rules and regulations, rules, policies, and regulations.
Okay,
So
So
it's
it's covered.
it's in there at least a couple of times.
okay.
Look, I would like to add that regarding the subject of social media, and I'm sure, and I believe I actually saw Tommy address an issue or something on there when Francine made its way up through here and harbor operations and how we did things and how we didn't do things. And I would just like to add that I don't know if it's in defense of the harbor or what we did or didn't do, but that was an anomaly. That storm was a little bit out of character. It was a little bit not the norm. Actually, it was a lot of bit not the norm. It went from nothing to making landfall in about 48 hours. And I want it very well known that typical harbor policy is that if we issue any kind of evacuation, we give you at the very least 48 hours, preferably 72 hours. And the rapid development and movement of that storm and its constant changing path and course made it very difficult to get a handle on what should be done or shouldn't be done. There was various things that came out that we issued a notice, that we sent out a notice Monday afternoon saying that we would not have an evacuation of the harbor. And we clearly stated in that email that I sent, or that I composed and Julie sent, that it said we were not issuing a mandatory evacuation as of now. And there was a lot of misrepresentation on Facebook about what that first notice actually said. And several people commented that the harbor stated they were not issuing a mandatory evacuation, and then Tuesday morning they decided to issue a mandatory evacuation, and that didn't give they gave everybody a false sense of hope, and they did this and they did that and blah, 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 and they didn't give us enough time. Well, it clearly stated as of now. So things developed, comments came forward on Facebook and other things. Personally, I think we handled it beautifully under the circumstances, because the harbor did what they normally have 72 hours to do in about 8 hours. That was not our standard storm scenario, and I think we handled it very well. Luckily, yes, we had boats that remained in the harbor, even though we did issue a mandatory, but also we are not going to place property over life and safety. And I made it very well known and clear to individuals that sort of came to me, and that the Coast Guard frowns highly upon you forcing someone out of a harbor when a hurricane is approaching 4 hours away. And so under the circumstances, yes, would we have liked to have had every single boat out of the harbor? Of course. Did that happen? No. Under the circumstances, I think we handled it very well. I think we took the necessary steps to protect city assets, and luckily we had no damage done to the harbor. So our normal and standard procedure did not apply in this scenario due to the storm scenario. However, going forward, we're looking at doing some things a little bit differently. We always want to learn. We always want to adjust as we can. And so we're reevaluating and looking at some things, how we can potentially get our message out a little quicker, a little more effectively, and hopefully soon we will be able to put those new procedures in place. But I just wanted everyone to know, while we were in here, while we're live streaming, some of my thoughts and concerns, and post-storm scenario on the situation, because there was a lot of what I consider to be, well, let's use a popular term, misinformation and disinformation. We hear that a lot these days. And I think there was a lot of that out there. And I've made it clear that anyone that needs to feel like they need to discuss harbor policies, our doors are always open. And, we don't always have the latest, greatest, and best answers, but we're certainly willing to learn and adjust as we need to. So we're not trying to hide anything, and we just want everyone to know that we're making those efforts to the best that we can. Okay.
Would it be, one thought would be, when somebody gets a lease, that they submit a hurricane plan. Now, that's another layer of management, administrative work that goes
Right.
along with it.
Right.
But it certainly would encourage some thought on people, so that they're not coming up as they do, well, where do I go?
Right.
Well, the fact that you own a boat, you ought to sort of have an idea what you're doing with it, but if you don't.
Well, I will, and that is addressed somewhat when you sign our lease, that packet of information that we give you. All right, so here's some of our expectations as a boat owner that we think you should have. And I've sent out, I think, Julie and I went back, I think I've sent out 3 emails at various times this year. One in the beginning of the season. I usually follow it up sometime around May or June with guys, hey, have a plan. You know, if we have to do something, get it together now so you don't at the last minute. That includes getting fuel, because we have to pull our fuel dispensers, and if you've only got 100 gallons in your boat and you got to run somewhere, that's not a good scenario. So we try to remind people of all those things. I try to encourage people, look, your hurricane plan really should be directed from what your insurance company requires to make sure that you're covered in these scenarios. Because if they tell you to do one thing and you do another, you're putting yourself at risk there to that exposure. So your insurance company may dictate to you what your hurricane plan should be and what they want you to do in these scenarios. So we try to encourage everybody, but like most things, you know, we can't hold your hand. My thought is, if you've got a $300,000 boat sitting in a hurricane-prone environment on the Gulf Coast, you probably should have all of that in place.
Yeah,
I
your
would think.
communications are good in advance, and you're right, you know, you give them a heads up or whatever, and you can't idiot-proof everything.
Right.
But anyway, that,
Something that we will take into consideration.
yeah, and I don't know that it's practical even to do it.
Right.
It's just disappointing when you see those communications from people who, you know, they're supposed to be a mariner, an educated, you got a boat, you ought to know what you're doing.
And we're not talking 18-foot ski boats here. You know, we're talking 45, 50, 65-foot vessels that, I mean, look, if you're relying on a captain, then you need to have a captain in place if something, you need to move it and you can't come do it. Or, I mean, I think the 4 of us, I mean, I've got my captain's license. I'd encourage you 3, get into the boat moving business, because apparently there's some demand for it.
I'm looking to retire.
But it
Okay, well, that's good, I understand. I mean, y'all did a good job communicating, and, you know, in the normal circumstances, everything was communicated well, and then you had, as you say, this aberration come up, you know, and I think you did what you could do with it, and that's.
And you and staff handled it perfectly, I think. You can't push, you can't untie boats and shove them out in the bay.
No, and that's just it. I saw comments on Facebook about, shouldn't the city have tow services available that's going to tow all these boats out of the harbor?
Oh, look, I got a guy who wants to put locks at the mouth of Bala Cross. Now, he didn't come from our harbor. He came from Pass Christian, but, you know.
Right.
Yeah, we've heard it all. But anyway, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Got a second, all in favor? All opposed, stay here.
Oh.
Okay, thank you, Julia. Thank you,
Yeah.
Ron.
I was trying to take up for us on Facebook. I don't know if I
Thank
did
you.
or not.
Don't be a
It's been
stranger.
a pleasure working with
So
you.
Sean, you think that hole back there, alligator hole, is the better spot, huh? No matter what?
Oh,
East, west,
going
north.
to go anywhere in here
That's a good.
up and drop anchor, that's the place to do it.
And just have enough line.